Welcome to The Practical Intuitive, where each Monday at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 Eastern, where host Robin Fritz explores mind, body, and spirit for the real world. Because we are all intuitives and healers, and we must all learn to love ourselves and live that love every day. Robin is a trained and certified intuitive and spiritual consultant and hypnotherapist with an international practice based in Seattle, Washington. As the Practical Intuitive, she covers personal and business intuition, animal communication, mediumship, space clearing, past life regression, shamanic insights, energy healing, soul choice. It's all here. Readings, healings, and funny, warm, thought-provoking conversations. It's Robin Fritz, the Practical Intuitive, helping you mastermind body and spirit for the real world. No ifs, ands, buts, or BS ever.
Welcome to the Practical Intuitive Mind, Body, Spirit for the Real World. It's Robin Fritz. We are live in Seattle, Washington, December 18th, 2017. We're counting down to the longest night of the year. And today we're going to be talking about claiming a new world for a new year, what that could mean for us, some philosophical thoughts about it, some real-life examples of what that can mean for us, some things to think about as we wind down 2017 and get ready to launch into a new year. So, as always, I am here. My practice, my show, my Facebook presence, everything is about helping you tap your own intuitive and healing abilities so that you can be the best that you can be in the world. And we need each and every one of us to step up and be our best and to keep growing, not just to grow our souls, which is important, but to help create this new world that is on our horizon, and it's going to be absolutely amazing. So, as always, I welcome callers. You can call in, you can chat about the topic of the day. You have questions about something, that's great. Love to hear your opinions, love to chat with you. And you're always welcome to call in for a brief intuitive reading. 202-570-7057. So you're welcome to call in, chat live. If you're shy, which I understand, you're welcome to email me at my website, robinfritz.com, ROBYN, F as in Frank, RITZ.com, Robin at robinfritz.com, or connect with me on Facebook at The Practical Intuitive. So, as we get started on our show today, as always, I would like to start with a quick little meditation with the crystal Fallon, the citrine Lemurian quartz. Fallon is a rare healer and truth bringer, and a rare quartz, rare crystal. The Lemurian quartz is rare by itself, but citrine makes it even more rare. So you have the combination of the boost and the clearing of quartz, the special properties of the Lemurians, and citrine, a crystal of abundance and ability to just tap into being our best selves. So you will experience this energy however your intuition works most strongly. So you may see pictures, you may hear him chat with you, you may feel his energy, or you may simply know that he is connected to you in this hour. And so as you just sit back, if you can, and take a deep breath, breathe in from the top of your head, and just imagine mind, body, and spirit are just going to get boosted here. Clear out the cares of the day and join us in this hour. Breathing down from the top of your head, down your face, your shoulders, your chest, your hips, your knees, and your feet. The top of your head to the bottom of your feet. And as you take that deep breath and you just feel this rapid clearing, of the blocks and the cares of the days, now imagine that Fallon is this goldish quartz light rotating at your feet. And yes, he is in the form of a crystal ball. Imagine an 8-pound crystal ball rotating outside your body. And as it moves up your body, just feel that gold light flooding you, especially into your heart chakra, and from there just expanding from your heart as your blood flows throughout your body, just carrying that healthy gold light throughout your body. So moving up from your feet, past your knees, your hips, your chest, your shoulders, your face, your third eye, and your crown chakra, the top of your head. And usually people who actually really feel energy will feel lightheaded with that sensation of connection to him. And yes, wherever you are in the world, you can be connected to Fallon's energy. First, we know that energy goes everywhere and in every single way, but being the ancient healer that he is, people connect with him all the time. I get emails all the time from people talking about how they were doing this or doing that, and Fallon suddenly stopped in and started talking with them. So the world is really very different, much different than we think it is. So today's show, we're going to be talking about claiming a new world for the new year. It's my last live show of the year. I have a show on December 25th and another on January 1st. They've been pre-recorded, and they're going to be lots of cool stuff for you there. I'll talk a little bit more about them at the end of the show. But to today's show, as we end 2017, we get ready to pop into a new year here, and a lot of us, we're reflecting on the year. We're reflecting on the challenges that we've experienced both locally and globally this year, which of course is, par for the course, right? But it seems like it's been a very, very active year, and there's a reason for that. So we'll take a look at what we learned, and we'll look at it philosophically, but it's also really good to look at it in terms of how does this apply to my daily life? So we will. So first and foremost, I think a lot of us noticed that it's increasingly difficult to get along with others this last year. And we look at that and we go like, what the heck is that all about? Well, in essence, we're living in different mindsets, and it's becoming really apparent that we are. So let's look at that. And then let's also look at how we want to define ourselves and how we want future generations to remember us. So sometimes we don't have a choice in how we define our civilization. I know my parents went through World War II, and, it's the Great War. It's, the great stand for democracy and freedom. Other times, we're living in the, age of digital media. We're living, in the space age. We're living at a time when for the first time in hundreds of years, the multidimensional beings that are living with us or that come from different dimensions are actually starting to make themselves more known to us. And those of us who are more open to that are having hilarious as well as deeply moving experiences with that. But if you had a choice to define our year, if you had a choice to define 2017 and the new year that we're moving into on an artificial way because of how we divide our calendar up, what would you choose? How would you choose to define what it is that we're looking at? And I believe what we're experiencing is a protracted and painful growth period that is forcing people to choose what they believe in and why, and how they want to live their beliefs. So, that can be like, what the heck, let's, look at it. And when thinking about this and talking with people and seeing what's out there in the world, divided it into two categories. One that I call way followers and the other way showers. And let me explain what I mean by that. So as I don't always agree with other spiritual people, metaphysical people on how they look at the world, but one thing I do agree very strongly with, particularly people like Marianne Williamson, is that there's only two things in the world. There's fear and there's love. Fear or love. And there's a dominant pattern, and it defines every relationship or every failure to have a relationship. So fear makes us cling to what we believe, makes us feel worthy. What do we What do we believe that makes us feel worthy, even if we have to fight for it? And fear is almost mindless in its activity. It's desperation to cling to what we know, to not lose faith, to not lose our identity and maybe even our existence, and questioning or challenging what we know and see around us, or the cultural strictures or taboos or even boosts, if you will, that define us. And we're seeing that now. We're used to living in a mindset we've lived in for centuries. And some people, you could call it the patriarchal worldview if you want. Religious and cultural institutions that assumed that men were in charge of the world. And we see that, acting out in our world today. Even today, women are taking their husbands' names when they get married, which was originally property designation. So how we use language, how we look at that, and what that means to us actually creates structures that contain how we live. And society is honestly wonderful. We need structure to us. We need rules to follow. We need rules to live by, because there's a lot of us out there, and we need to learn to stop at red lights, right? And we need to learn to get along with each other, and we create those ways of thinking and living in the world, and they become a pattern for us that we don't even really think about, because it's just the way we're living. And to be honest, we're busy earning a living, we're busy raising families, we're busy meeting new people and having fun, and we don't stop to think about the larger framework that we're doing all of that living in. But all of a sudden, we're being shaken by huge changes in our culture, huge changes worldwide. And we've seen a lot of that this year, a lot of huge changes, escalating changes, beginning with things like refugees in different countries, terrorism, differences of opinions, and all kinds of things that just shake us up. So after the break, we're going to talk a little bit about that, but we're going to get concrete with some real examples of how that works in the world. So hang on, and if you'd like to call in, 202-570-7057.
Your conscious connection to a more mindful world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Change and growth are part of natural life and also part of your spiritual life. Everyone needs support and guidance, especially during life passages. Upgrade yourself with the OMTimes Experts program. With OMTimes Experts, you have access to the best intuitive coaches, spiritual teachers, counselors, astrologists, and oracles. Our team was carefully selected so you can trust. Find out more at experts.omtimes.com.
Hello, I'm Lisa Berry. Join me every Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time for Light on Living, a chance to see new, hear different, and feel more as I shine the spotlight on all the ways to lighten the load of life's challenges. Light on Living is your link to that new way you're looking for, that new understanding that will enhance your life, and that positive connection that will support your growth. So join me and you'll gain insight and start to see things in a new way that motivates you.
Shopping for yourself or loved ones? Check out the best rock shop around, Earthlight Rocks and Gems in Kirkland, Washington. Whether you're looking for metaphysical support or just love nature's art, Earthlight has it all. Raw rocks, crystals, tumbled stones of all kinds, carvings, cabs, fossils, tumblers, rare minerals in all price ranges, and books. They also have jewelry, including custom pieces and beads to make your own. Open 7 days a week, the Earthlight store has been around since 1988 and is run by Kim and Todd Valines. Find them online at earthlightgems.com, at Etsy at earthlightgems.etsy.com, or on Facebook at Earthlight Rocks and Gems. Have a question? Email Kim at the store, earthlightgems.com. And just for OMTimes listeners, receive 10% off orders over $50 at their Etsy account with coupon code EarthlightGems. That's earthlightgems.etsy.com or the store at earthlightgems.com.
I am Fidel Nsombo. I was born in a city called the Bukavu in the Congo. We were a loving family, and then, boom, everything that I had disappeared in a single day. People think that when you are a refugee and they resettle you to America and all your problems are done, they don't understand that that's the beginning of everything. I was not born a refugee. I was made one.
It's time we welcome refugee families with open arms. Learn more at embracerefugees.org, brought to you by the Ad Council.
Welcome back to the Practical Intuitive Mind, Body, Spirit for the Real World. It's Robin Fritz, and we are live in Seattle, Washington. So we tend to think, we're talking about what we want for a new year, what we want in terms of a new world in the new year. And we've spent a lot of time this last year all over the world thinking about the things that are wrong with the world. But there are so many great things in the world, and I want to look at those, and I want to look at why we need to be looking at that. So we've been living in a mindset that we created, goes on for generations, and I've talked about it in the past. I call it planetary healing, and it's where we think as humans that we're in charge of the planet, that we've been made caretakers and guardians, and we need to fix everything. And what we tend to forget is that makes us feel alone on the planet, because we put ourselves at the top and we don't realize that there are other beings out there living with us and creating with us. But this new world that's coming up here, this new way of thinking, is an important concept. The world is changing so fast that many of us are just like shaking our heads in confusion. And, where are we going? What does this new world look like? Well, we're seeing these huge rapid changes. The whole literally mind-boggling stream of sexual harassment claims shaking up basic foundations in American society. Who knows where that will go? Who knows what that will look like over the course of the next even generation, but certainly the next year. But what kind of a world is it that we want to create and live in? And how does that make us, really the best that we can be? And people all over are having really thoughtful, earnest conversations about who we are and who we want to be in the world and why and how we can get there. So you can see all kinds of that in action, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But what do we do in this kind of a world where things are changing around us, and how do we look at that? Well, a lot of us are thinking that we're living in a time period now where we're really redefining how we live and operate in the world, and it's a different way of looking at the world. And so that's where I come into the concept of way followers and way showers. Way followers are people who really, we're all busy in our daily lives, right? But, and it's easy to just be busy and to not think about how the world operates or why it operates that way. It's like, a lot of people go like, what's the point of that? And whenever I get into a mindset like that, I think of my mom, who told me from the time I was a little girl, you think too much. Maybe so. But if the way followers are continuing in their path, what we're seeing in some of them, and a large number of them, is this fearful response to change coming at them. So whether it's a refugee, whether it's, people just being open to living and getting along with other people and other people not being that way. They don't want change. They react, and you look at not just the United States elections, but elections all over the world, and who are we electing to positions of power, people who want to build us up or people who, want to keep us, down. And a lot of us are going, well, we need to see a different kind of relationship in the planet, and we need to start seeing a relationship where we're in partners, not just with humans, but with other beings. And when you break that back down again, way followers cling to, what is increasingly becoming an outdated worldview. And way showers, people who are showing us how to move forward in a very complex world, are people who are ready to grow into something new, and we're mystified and unbalanced by chaos. We're not better than other people. We're just different. We're thinking differently. And we're looking at how do we relate in a world where citizenship isn't defined by borders, by countries, but as a planet. What does world citizenship look like to us? And how does that translate back down into our daily lives? Because we can think great thoughts and big thoughts about everything, but unless it really comes down to our daily lives, what difference does it make? And that's where people are making a difference. First, in choosing their leadership, how do you defer to who leads us? And secondly, how do we lead ourselves, right? So who we are and what that means to us. So, and I'd like to give, one very simple example. And as I was thinking about the show today, I was thinking back, like, how do we demonstrate who we are and how we live in the world? And I remember one day I was off driving somewhere, and I see this woman on the sidewalk in my neighborhood a couple blocks away, and she's dressed for work, a skirt and jacket and everything else, and she's trying to flag down passing cars. And I'm like, it's morning. And I see cars driving by her, all driven by men, all glance at her and look away and continue driving. And I think, like, really? This woman looks like there's something wrong. So I pulled over and I rolled down my window and I said, hey, you got a problem? What's up? What's going on? And she said, I missed the bus and I've got a job interview and I have to catch the bus. And I said, well, then get in. I'll take you to the bus stop. And we exchanged pleasantries, and I got her up to the bus stop ahead of the bus, which she had just missed. And so she caught her bus to the job interview. And that's the last I ever saw of her, I think. I might have passed her on the street on a walk. But it made me stop and think about why we would pass somebody who needs help and why we would stop for them, And why would you? And what does that mean to you? And how do you live that in the world? And I wondered about those men who would pass a woman on the street, and like, why would that happen? And I'm not thinking of it in terms of sexism or that women are weaker and need a hand up. It's like she was well dressed. She wasn't looking like she was somebody who was out to hurt somebody. She looked like she was in trouble and upset about something, and why wouldn't you stop and ask what was going on? And another example that occurred years ago, I have been handicapped for many years with a foot disability, and I know what it's like to be on crutches for an extended period of time as my foot healed, and it took a long time to heal because I had real bad immune issues at the time. And I'm driving down our West Seattle hill, which is a huge, really steep hill and is the reason why you can't get cell phone coverage in my neighborhood very well. And I'm seeing this kid, and he's on crutches, and he's hobbling down the hill, down a very huge hill on crutches. And as I glanced at him as I drove by, I saw sweat running down his face, and I'm like, I can't do this. I can't leave this kid there. So I turned around and I went back and I pulled up alongside of him and I yelled out the window, hey, you, let me help you. And he's like, stops, and he looks at me and he's like, what? And I said, come here, come here. And he comes over to the car, passenger side of the car, as that's the sidewalk side he was on. And he looks in at me and his eyes are wide, kind of like, I'm not sure what to think about you, lady. And I'm like, are you okay? And he's like, oh, and I said, look, I have been on crutches. Just get in the car. And he's like, oh, okay. And And he gets in the car and he gets settled. We move the seat back and I took him down the hill and to his house, and he's looking at me like, wow, I didn't know what to think about you. And I said, yeah, isn't that too sad that somebody could see somebody suffering like that and not stop to help? Now, I'm not holding myself out as this great person. I'm just talking about, are we way followers or way showers? Are we ready to live a world of inclusion, or are we going to cling to ways that make us hide from other people, maybe even ourselves? How are we going to be our best selves in the world? What does that mean to us? And why does it mean something to us? And, after the upcoming break here, I'm going to talk some more about some real examples, but also about our true self and what that means in the world, and how we can tap into the idea of becoming our true selves and what a true self means in the world, and how we can tap into that in the coming year. And not just in the coming year, but hello, today's December 18th, and we're moving into a holiday season, whether you celebrate solstice or Christmas or any one of the different religious traditions, the end of the year celebration. I have Japanese friends for whom January 1st is the big deal of the year. It's a time of year where it's dark, it's time to reflect, it's time to rest up and hibernate and imagine how we're going to pop open our world in the new year as we get closer and closer to spring. In a few days, the days are actually going to start getting shorter until we get to June, and the days getting longer, the sunlight getting longer as we get to June, and the longest day of the year as opposed to the longest night of the year coming up. So hang on, we're going to talk about that after the break. If you'd like to call in, share your thoughts and observations, or get a quick reading, 202-570-7057.
A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free. AscendingHearts.com.
Today we decided to walk to school. The light counted. 15, 14.
31? 13?
We took a left on Carroll Street. Danny's smart, but he gets distracted. He realized he forgot his homework. I hope he doesn't have another bad day at school.
When you can see learning and attention issues from their side, you can be on their side. That's why there's Understood.org, a free resource for the parents of the 1 in 5 kids with learning and attention issues. Go from misunderstanding to Understood.org. Brought to you by Understood and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to the Practical Intuitive Mind, Body, Spirit for the Real World. It's Robin Fritz. I'm an intuitive and spiritual consultant and a certified past life regression specialist. I work all day with people growing their souls, and it is the most amazing, the most awesome thing in the world. And I am so privileged to be able to be with people, and I'm so privileged that people share their time with me, and so thrilled to be able to be here with the OMTimes community and share your thoughts and feelings and work together on making this planet the best that it can be and the best that we can be in partnership with it. So how do we live in a world where things change, where things grow, where we try to keep moving forward and we keep running into roadblocks? Now, we're all going to be signed because, now what do we hear about the holidays? We hear about how much trouble people have with their families. And I'm going like, really? You're complaining about being with your family on the holidays? I don't have a family. Mine died. I have animals, and that's awesome. And I have friends, and sometimes I see them, sometimes I don't. But treasure what you've got. Treasure your relationships, because that really matters. But in the coming year, start treasuring the relationships that aren't human. And there are plenty of them out there. And treasure the opportunities to celebrate people who are just being the best that they can be and not even thinking about it. They're just going out there and doing good things. And one of those things happened this morning in the Seattle area when an Amtrak train derailed on an overpass over I-5, which is a major highway, our freeway from Washington down to California. It's the major north-south route through the state. And not only did the train derail, it went over the overpass and onto I-5 below. And that will be hours and hours in cleanup. We already know we've lost people on that accident. We also know that the train wasn't full. It didn't have 250 passengers on it like they were afraid of at first. But here's what happened. Okay, so imagine you're on your way to work, and suddenly you hear this noise, and the next thing you know, there's a rail car down on the freeway in front of you. And people are driving by, and what do? They stop. They get out of their cars, and they run to help people. They didn't even stop to think about what that meant, except that they needed to help. And some of the people managed to get themselves out of the rail cars, and they were helping those people, wrapping them up in their blankets that they had in the cars, whatever. It's a drizzly, and early this morning it was so drizzly, it was like fog bound here. Oh my God, people just helping other people. And not only that, they're climbing into these rail cars before the first responders could get there, trying to get people out, realizing that some were not going to be able to be saved, and realizing that others were trapped. And what did they do? They stayed with them. They held their hands. They stayed with them. And that's what it's all about. We're not always all called to be heroes like that. But when it's there in front of you, what are you going to do? Are you going to step up and help an accident victim, or are you going to turn the other way and walk away? And that's what this new world is asking us to do, not just to help other humans and to be extraordinary in this particular case. Every single one of those people who stopped, who could stop, who had to stop because they couldn't go anywhere, but who also just, there was no way they were going anywhere any further. They weren't in the side of the freeway where they could drive. They didn't. They stopped to help. And that's what it's all about, being citizens of the planet, right? And citizens of your country, and really people just helping people. Souls helping souls. We're growing our souls, right? In amazing, amazing ways. But it's not just humans. So another example, and you can live this example. I live with animals who are purebred animals. I have a Russian blue kitten who's actually recovering from being spayed and got an infection. So she's like, oh my God, why? Why that, But and the most amazing cat, just really watching these animals react with people. But my dog, Ollie, is my third Cavalier King Charles Spaniel. And these are, 15 to 20 pound dogs. Spaniels get to keep their tails and all their hair. They don't, oh my God, sometimes so much hair. But these have such magnificent personalities. And Ollie is the reincarnation of my previous dogs, who were also Cavaliers, and my dog Maggie, who was an English Cocker Spaniel. Yeah, I'm kind of fixated on Spaniels. But amazing personalities and souls that chose dog bodies to do their jobs in. And that job has to do with creating a better planet for all of us. This planet, alive and conscious and evolving, and we're here evolving with it. So I watch my dog walk down the street with me, and he sees somebody he likes, which is pretty much everybody he's ever met, even if he hasn't met them. He sees somebody a block away. He's like, oh my gosh, this has got to be my new best friend. Looking at an animal that can just throw himself into being love in action. And as we were walking down the street this morning, somebody across the street yells, hey, hi, Ellie, like nobody even knows my name. But they're crazy in love with this little dog. And he's like, hello, 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 hello. And it's like, this is the connection. This is the connection that we're looking for. This is the way we grow our souls. This is the way we create a healthy planet for all of us. By looking at all life as equal to us, by looking at all life trying to connect with us and trying to be whatever we can be in terms of the best in the world. So these beings like Ollie, like those magnificent people this morning who stopped on their way to work to help strangers who were desperately in need at the train derailment. These are people who are the way showers. These are the people who are showing us the way forward out of dissent, the way forward out of fear and anger, the way forward to love. And it is not that hard. I mean, yeah, it is hard. I have to take that back because I have to say there are people that I know that I can't be around anymore. And we all get to that point. And that's kind of where the world is going, where we are actually going off in different directions. And part of this is the new dimensional energies that are changing. And part of it is our choice, to live in a world where we are more connected and where we get a chance to meet other people. And now, these days, it's hard. I grew up in a small town where you knew everybody, and Seattle has neighborhoods, and even within those neighborhoods, people don't know each other. And the neighborhood that I live in is pretty unusual, and in fact, people tell me all the time that they're like, what is going on in your neighborhood? Because you're out, in a spring morning and you're out at 7 o'clock with your dog or 8 o'clock in the morning and people are sitting outside and they're with their dogs and they're having a cup of coffee and they're like, hey, you want to come in for a cup of coffee? Come on, I'll get you a cup of coffee. That doesn't happen in other neighborhoods. But it's happening in ours because we've made the choice to be neighbors, to go back and be who we are in the world. But again, not everybody that we connect with and not everything that we connect with is human. So let me tell you another story that I was reminded of today because it was an annual doctor's appointment, which I ignored last year, so it was not my annual doctor's appointment. And it's how we make partnerships with things. Okay, so some years ago, and I know it was 2007, and I had been curious about energy, what energy was and how it worked. So I did Reiki training with someone I know who lived here in the neighborhood and was a Reiki master. And so I'd gone through the Reiki training, Reiki 1 and 2. And then I went in for my annual mammogram. And I'd had problems in the past, so it was not something I should forget. I had also very consciously stepped up into my work as an intuitive and a healer and a spiritual consultant and working into that and figuring out where I fit in the world. And this was a couple years before I met Fallon again. And I had decided to ask all beings in the world, because I was talking to things like weather and land systems and so on, all beings in the world who wanted to join with me to add our presence and our work together and add to my work of giving back to the world, of helping span the dimensions, of helping other beings talk to humans and humans talk to other beings. All beings who would work with me in that, to step up to the plate and help me. So there I am getting my annual mammogram, and my doctor looks at me and he goes, "This is not good, Robin." He said, "This is really not good. We need to do a biopsy, and you're coming back in 2 days." He goes, "We need to get a biopsy. This is not going to be a pleasant procedure because we're looking at invasive breast cancer, and we need to get ahead of this now." So I'm like, "Oh crap!" So I went home and I called the Reiki person and I said, "Hey, we need to do level 3 Reiki, And she goes, "Well, I need to check in with my guides. You want to do this in like a month?" And I go, "No, I want to do it today, tonight. I've got this thing happening in 2 days and I need to get ahead of it." So the guides agreed and we did Reiki level 3, which I don't even know what that is anymore. But we did it and the guides were all there and supportive. And then I sat down to talk to this thing in me. And I said, "What the heck are you? Who are you? What are you? What are you doing in my body?" And it was cancer, and it pleaded for its life. And I'm like, "What the heck are you talking about?" It said, "I came to help you." And I said, "What?" And it said, "You asked for every being in the planet, in the universe, who would support you in your work to come, and I have come to help you." And I was like, oh my gosh, how did I screw that up? Because I wasn't careful enough about what I was asking for, and it never occurred to me, right? So I'm like, "Okay, we need to talk." And I said, "Okay, cancer, I'm sorry, you cannot stay. But I'm here to help." I said, "I'm sorry, I thank you for that, but you cannot stay, because if you stay, I will get sick or die and not be able to do the work that I've really realized I came here to do. You cannot stay. You have to die and go away." And it's like, "But I want to help you." And I'm going, "No, you can't. You can't help me." And then I had this fascinating conversation with cancer. And we're going to probably run into the break here, which I'll finish afterwards. Fascinating conversation about what cancer is in the world. So we'll be back in a moment to talk about that. Hang on.
Free your mind. Expand your soul. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Humanity Healing International is a small nonprofit with a big dream. Since 2007, HHI has been working tirelessly to bring help to communities with little or no hope. Our projects are not broad mandates, nor are they overnight solutions, but they bring the reassurance that no one is alone and that someone cares. To learn more, please visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Hi, I'm Kelly Fox, host and astrologer of The Astrology Show. Each week, I'll give you access to the current transits, which are a valuable tool that provide astrological information to help unlock the potential each of us has. Understanding the stars can help steer us in the right direction to make better informed choices. So if you're wondering what's going to happen in your week ahead, be sure to tune in to The Astrology Show for guidance, Mondays at 9 p.m. Eastern Time.
You're not wired to have a response to this sound. You're neutral to it, and you can hear it repeatedly without feeling anything. But when we introduce a new stimulus, save the food, we've achieved pulling a natural or inborn response from you. Save the food, because 40% of all food in the US never gets eaten. Save the food. Cook it, store it, share it. Just don't waste it. For tips and recipes, visit savethefood.com. Brought to you by NRDC and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to the Practical Intuitive Mind, Body, Spirit for the Real World. It's Robin Fritz, and we are live in Seattle, Washington. And we're talking today about how we are moving forward into a new year, claiming a new world for a new year. And I'm talking about creating partnerships with other life to be our best. The world that we actually live in is a world that I call a mindset that I call planetary connection. And it's recognizing that everything is alive. Everything has a soul, has consciousness, has a job to do, a choice about doing a job, and opinions. Everything is alive. It can be a very complicated worldview, but it's true. I learned this from other beings. I didn't make this up. I learned this from other beings. So I was telling about how I met cancer, 2007, and I'm like, what the heck? And it was pleading for its life. It did not want to die. It wanted to help me in my work of being an ambassador between dimensions, of helping people and the planet come together in different ways. And there's so many of us doing this out there. It's like we're not that special. We're just different, right? And I'm telling cancer, I'm sorry, but no, you cannot coexist with me. And it's telling me, but I came to help you, asked for help. So in the conversation that I had with cancer, I learned that in 300 years, we will consider cancer to be symbiotic. That means that cancer and human will coexist together, that neither will kill the other, that we will not die from cancer and cancer will not die because we've had to kill it, that we will be living together, and that the combination of human and cancer will lead to great intellectual, spiritual growth. Great things will be created from that. That's 300 years in the future. Right now, we know what cancer is. I lost my brother to cancer when he was 14 and I was only 9. I know plenty of people who've had cancer, and I know right now it is not symbiotic with us, and I knew that I could not live with it, so I had to let it go. And I did energy healing, and I did something else. And so 2 days later, I'm at the doctor's office, and my doctor's there, and he's got a whole team full of people there. And they're trying to find this thing to biopsy, and they cannot find it. And finally, my doctor is like, Robin, we're done here. And he, oh my God, with the equipment that they had you tied into, I mean, you literally needed to be helped out of it. And we get me up, and I'm sitting there, and he's looking at me, and he knows me. He's known me for years. And he looked at me and he said, Robin, this has never happened. It was there and it is not there. What did you do? And I looked at him and I said, well, energy healing for one. And then the entire room, we must have been 8 people in there, all technicians, doctors, whatever, because this was very serious. We were looking at invasive breast cancer, and they had never not found it after finding it on a mammogram. And I said, I did healing, we did other healing, and I said, and I had a conversation with it, and, you know, he was like, he said, okay, the whole conversation about symbiotic was like not relevant to him. He was like, his mind was blown. But what I did do was tell him exactly what I did over the last 2 days. I said over and over again to the cancer, I am not food. You may not eat me. Thank you for the lesson. It's time for you to go. Over and over and over again. And it went. And he looked at me and his jaw dropped and he said, I need to share that with my patients. Do I have your permission to use it? I said, absolutely. Absolutely. And when I got dressed and left, he came out and he looked at me and he brought his team out and he said, please tell me again what it was you said. And I told him, I am not food. You may not eat me. Thank you for the lesson. It is time for you to go. And it was gone. And a year later, I went back, or maybe not a year later, whenever it was that I was supposed to go back and be double checked. It was there still on the mammogram, but it was gone, you know. And I knew that because as soon as they did the exam, the digital exam, all the equipment in the office went down. That never happened either. So I'm sitting there and I'm talking to my spirit guides and I'm going like, okay, what did you guys do? What the heck is going on? They go, okay, so it showed up again on the mammogram, but it's not really there. It was just like the desire for it still wanting to be there. And so we had to take everything down to clean it up, because you're fine. And I said, okay, whatever. So then the doctors came out, about a half an hour later because they made me stay. And they said, hey, you know what? You're fine. Go home. Right? So this is an example, fairly dramatic, right? But another example, my dog, the cancer, the train derailment, the woman who was waiting for a bus. These are all examples of how we are moving forward in this new world, creating this new world of cooperation between all beings, at least those that can exist together, which human and cancer cannot at this particular moment. But all of us creating this world where we are showing the way forward to a citizenship of the planet that creates well-being for all of us. Yes, terrible things happen. Silly things happen. We drop and break something, or we burn the dinner or something like that. But all in all, we're moving forward to creating this new world where we can all live together and grow in philosophical and intellectual and spiritual and culturally. We can all be our best in that kind of an environment. And that's what we're looking for next year. And that's the concept of the true self. And our true self is the first thing we need to be looking for. So as we create partnerships with other things, we first and foremost need to create partnerships with ourself. And our true self is our boundary reminder, our energy boundary. It's our ally. It reminds us of the power that we are as individual souls, right? When we are at ease with ourselves, we are at ease with others. We know that there's conflicts in the world. We know that sometimes we can't overcome them. We know that we keep moving forward, right? But when you invite your true self to connect with you, you notice things. You notice your connection. So our true self is like a holographic projection of who we are in perfection. We invite perfection in so that we're not stuck in less than mode. So we're not stuck in that fearful way follower mode that has to have this worldview that really doesn't work for us anymore, a cultural view where humans are on top, where certain humans are on top of others, where we're not working together. And you can see that in every country right now is the fight between who has what and who doesn't have anything. That we are sovereign beings, body and spirit, that we go out into the world, and that when other people say you need to surrender to me, we say no. I am a sovereign being and I claim that for myself. So as you go forward in the world, as you plan into celebrating solstice, as you plan for your holiday celebrations, as you step into the new year, into a new world that is opening up, that all we have to do is reach out and hold it in our arms and say, yes, this is what we choose. We choose to be together. We choose to reach out, to be our best selves, to hold our true selves close to us. It's not our higher self. It's our soul self. It's our past lives. It's our physical, our mental, our spiritual, emotional self, reminding us of how many lifetimes have come into this one and how much further we have to go and how much beauty there can be in that. So as we end for today, I just want you to think forward on that. To email me if you have questions. Email me if you have comments. I will share them at future shows. And to email me if you have an intuitive question you would like me to look at for you. So coming up on December 25th, I'm gifting all of you with something near and dear to my heart, which is my grandmother, who was an opera singer, singing Schubert's Ave Maria, as well as my radio sponsor, Kim Valines and Todd Valines of Earthlight Rocks and Gems. And Kim and I will be talking about crystals to support us in the new year. It was a fun conversation. It's pre-recorded. It'll be available on December 25th. And on January 1st, we're starting the new year with something that did save my life. Functional medicine, what functional medicine is and how it can help us be our best. With a functional medicine specialist based here in Seattle, Dr. Arthi Chandra. I stumble over that because I'm not used to calling her by her first name. We'll talk about how she found her way to functional medicine and what it can mean to us. And functional medicine is a way for us to really dig down, mind, body, and spirit, right? Helping us be our best in the world. And so I also invite you to contact me if you'd like to have a service that I offer through my website, robinfritz.com. I offer personal and business intuition, mediumship, animal communication, space clearing, past life and between life regression, which is awesome, spiritual journeys, meeting your spirit guide, spiritual awakening, energy healing with Fallon, which is amazing, a new form of energy, alchemical energy, which I'll talk about in future shows. And also, I am so thrilled to be a member of the OMTimes community and the OMTimes Experts platform. So join me on my webinars, upcoming webinars, and previously recorded webinars at experts.omtimes.com/Robin Fritz. So I want to thank you for joining me. And as this last live show of the year, hands on your heart, breathe energy into those palms of your hands. Breathe into the palms. Hold it out to the world. Let that energy go where it will. It is sentient. It knows what the heck it's doing. Let it do that. And then hands on your heart. Just breathe that energy into your palms. Breathe into your palms. And then put your palms back on your heart. Regrounding yourself. Go out to the world. Have a wonderful holiday season. Be well. Be spiritual, be metaphysical, be your best self, and join me again in the new year. Thank you for joining me. Take care.